Okay, we're back with Dean McPhail and Greg Meier. Can you tell us a little bit more about how it was when you initially started then? Was it just booming from the beginning and everything kind of went smoothly? Because that's, from the outside, that's what it looks like.
Well, we were pretty fortunate in that our first location at Kahala Mall, we opened it on December 12th, and we set the record for the first day sales for a new market for Starbucks. And we were fortunate in that Christmas time in Kahala Mall, there was already some pent up demand for Starbucks here through their mail order catalog. So the business was there from the beginning. But then we had a lull in real estate. It was probably 6 months until we got our second store open, and then another 3 or 4 months until the next few stores came. So we were a little bit overstaffed for a while because we had, as Dean mentioned, we had brought our first 4 store managers up to Seattle for 3 months of training prior to the first store opening. So our whole strategy was to, we had a plan to develop 30 stores, and we really started with an infrastructure that allowed us to open up stores at a rapid pace.
So actually, though, if you have 4 store managers at one location, your customer service must have been spectacular.
Right? We had 4 store managers. We had my brother Scott, Greg, myself. Yeah. So there was a lot of people working in there. But as Greg said, that first day was a booming day for an opening. But that continued on for quite some time. And although business was booming, it was still taking us a while to really understand the business. But I think as far as the customer experience in the store, it was pretty good considering the lines were wrapping down, through the mall at Kahala. But it was kind of funny. But the night before, I remember I went to bed on December 11th, and I couldn't sleep because I was worried nobody was going to show up, And Greg and I arrived at the store at about 5:30 in the morning, and there must have been 50 people in line waiting to get in. So that was pretty exciting.
But after that, it wasn't like every store opened like that. And I remember our second store on Oahu, which was Ward Village, which has become one of our flagship stores. When we opened that, we were all down there at 5:30 in the morning, bright-eyed, waiting for the customers, and there were no customers lined up. And we're like, wow, where are all the people,
They're all at Kahala Mall. Forgot to put those posters up saying meet us at the new location.
Were you worried?
Well, not overly worried, but certainly we knew that we had some brand building to do and some educating to make some people aware of what Starbucks is all about. There was a small percentage of the population that was familiar with Starbucks, and either through their travels or through the mail order. But there were a lot of people that had no idea what Starbucks was. And when I look at our business today and what we have, we really didn't take that business from other coffee operators out there. We've really, in my mind, created the specialty coffee category in Hawaii. The business that we have today was not there in 1996.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because actually in Ward there's 2 locations right across the street from each other, and they're both crowded.
Yeah,
they are. And, it's a similar thing on Bishop Street where there's right. two stores a block away.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you, how do you go ahead and find a location and know that it's right if it's right next to each other?
It's really more of an art than a science. There's no magic answer or silver bullet. Certainly you look at, traffic patterns and demographics and population densities. But for us, it really comes more down to just knowledge of the market. That's one of our core competencies is real estate knowledge, and I feel we know the market pretty well. When we look at specific locations, we'll look at things like visibility is very important. The function, is it easy access in and out? Does it have good parking? Who are the co-tenants? We want to be next to grocery stores and solid co-tenants where they're driving other people to the area as well. So those all combine with the trade areas. You sort of put it all in the mix, and then you look at where you have locations and where your strategies are for the next location for the infill of the market. And you put all that in, how comes an answer, and it's yes or no, and sometimes you're right, and sometimes, it's not. Some stores surprise you in one way, and some surprise you in the other way. But we're fortunate; we haven't closed any stores in Hawaii.
So when you put 2 stores right next to each other, they don't cannibalize each other's sales at all?
You know what? Yeah, we know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they do, to answer that. Yeah. But it typically is temporary, the cannibalization, because the stores tend to, particularly at certain times of the day, have long lines. that people will go to the new store, but new customers will come in the old store to fill in the line over time.
After Starbucks had been open for that amount of time, how long did it take for you to introduce Jamba Juice to Hawaii?
Well, we opened the first Jamba Juice store in June of 1999, so it was 2.5 years, I guess, from the opening of the first Starbucks. But the agreement with Jamba was well in the works before that. And it wasn't that long, and I can't remember exactly. I want to say probably maybe 6 months to a year when we had started the conversation with Jamba Juice. And it was similar to Starbucks in that they did not franchise at the time. They had a few early franchisees from the earlier days, but Howard Schultz was actually on the board of directors for Jamba Juice for a period, and I think he had some influence on the fact that they didn't franchise. So when we had our initial conversations with them, we got the same answer, was no. And it took some time and discussion and convincing before they were agreeable to allowing us to have the exclusive area development rights for the state.
So Starbucks and Jamba Juice has an interesting community mission. I know that you guys support Ohia Productions, support the Grounds and Coffee. There was actually a pretty long list on your website. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, sure. One of our we have 6 guiding principles in our mission statement, and one of them is to contribute positively to our communities and environment. And really, both Starbucks and Jamba Juice are not, we don't do a lot of traditional advertising. We spend most of our time and efforts and resources at marketing and doing things in the community, sponsoring events, providing civic organizations and charities with support, either in kind, people, or with dollars. So, I mean, we have a list, an endless list of things we can talk about, and I'm not really sure if...
I think the underlying philosophy is more important, where it's companies that have a social mission of some sort or partake in community involvement and add that into their business, they actually have a more successful business.
You know, I would agree with that, and I would say our approach has been that the 2 things that influence our success here the most are what we do in the community and then what happens within the 4 walls of our store and the customer experience. And those things combined are really what drives the business. And we've never been... I would say traditional marketing types. Certainly, there's times when we've run an ad in the newspaper or done something on the radio or television, but it's fairly limited. And when we do that, it's more to say, hey, we have something new. But we've really found that engaging in the community here is our key to success. And the people of Hawaii, and I don't want to say we're really that different here, but I think the people of Hawaii really do appreciate that and recognize that. And have become loyal supporters many times because of that.
Can you give some examples of these innovative marketing, community-based marketing?
Well, just we have certain. You know, we'd like to support everybody, but obviously we can't. So we have certain criteria, areas of focus, but yet we still venture outside of those areas with a lot of support. But the areas for Starbucks are. We've determined are to support the environment, to support literacy, the culture and the arts, AIDS, and then also the Hawaiian culture with things like canoe paddling and things like that. So there's a lot of different ones that we can talk about. Pretty passionate about all of them, and we could be here for hours.
Do you sponsor it with money, or you guys give product? How does it work? You engage them and become a part of their program?
Yeah, we you know what we do? We do a number of things. We do both of those. I mean, oftentimes. There's a good chunk of money that we'll put in. Our time is also something that I think has been a real contributor to successful community involvement. Oftentimes we'll get involved with a group that maybe doesn't have the resources to drive an event or a project, and our team will get behind it and really dive in and help, organize and plan the event and then execute it. And I think the other thing that has really been great for us, not only with our customers, but with our internal people, is getting them, the people from the store level, involved in these activities, because oftentimes it's their first experience in any kind of philanthropic activity. Mm-hmm. So I think that helps us become one of the best places to work.
So as long as you get them as a part of the culture that they're engaging the community also, then everything kind of works out.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for coming in, Dean and Greg, to join us on Greater Good Radio Hawaii. For more information on today's show, please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. This is your host, Evan Leong, and Carrie Leong saying please join us next time for another episode of Greater Good Radio Hawaii.